Microsoft has announced it's shutting down the decades-old internet service Skype. This means we'll be saying goodbye to this jingle. It does make you smile when you hear that sound. Now, Microsoft says the application will shut down in May. Customers' existing call and chat histories will move to the other messaging service, Teams.
That's right. Well, for more on this, I'm now joined by James Hennessy, Ideas Editor at Capital Brief and host of the tech podcast Down Round. A very good morning to you, James.
Good to be here.
I can't underscore the irony enough to say the fact that we're actually conducting this interview via Zoom as well. Does that just highlight how irrelevant Skype has become now?
Yeah, exactly. I think this is a perfect signal of the downward decline of Skype over a number of years, actually. It's been a little bit of a slow motion car crash for a number of years. So to take you back a little bit in time, Skype was founded back in 2003. For a lot of people, it was the first time they had ever used a video chat software and was obviously a market leader at the time. But since then, we're talking about the mid-2000s, it's gone through a series of acquisitions and a real loss of its strategic lead. So it was acquired by eBay back in 2005. They had a crazy idea they were going to use it to revolutionize the way that buyers and sellers spoke to each other on their platform. That didn't work. Sold it in a fire sale. It ended up in the hands of Microsoft back in 2011. Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer paid $8.5 billion for that. People thought he was crazy, and I think time has shown that he was probably a little bit crazy. They didn't know exactly how to make it work within their suite of products. And I think the real testing ground for Skype was in 2020 when the COVID pandemic hit. You couldn't speak to your friends and family in person anymore. You needed video chat. By the time that happened, Skype had become so complicated, so unclear in how to use it, that when Zoom came along, and it meant that you could just send a link to your friends and family and it would open up and it would just work, it sort of left them in the dust. So Skype has been functionally dead for a while. This is just Microsoft saying, okay, the party's over.
Well, Microsoft took away my Hotmail. Now they're taking away my Skype. How much better is Zoom and all the other communications apps compared to Skype? What do they offer?
So essentially, the benefit they had was that they were smoother and they had a more rock-solid basis for the communication. So that was the advantage of Zoom when it first launched. Not only was it easy to send people links and jump into chats, but it was a rock-solid protocol, which meant that it didn't drop out very often. The video was high quality, the audio was high quality, and Zoom's put a lot of money into making that work. Skype didn't really stay with the times in that regard. So that was the big advantage. But there's kind of two sides to the video chat universe. You have the consumer level, which is, you're calling your friends, you're speaking to your friends who live overseas, your family, whatever. And then you have your workplace communications. Skype played in both universes, but ended up not very good at either of them. And Microsoft actually has Teams, which is their workplace communication platform. Many viewers probably use it at the office. But the great irony is that when Microsoft built Teams, they didn't even use the Skype technology at all. So in the end, they built it from scratch. So at the end of the day, Skype was sort of not useful for anything.
All right. So then, what happens to my, my Skype name? Because the thing about Skype, I remember people used to have odd names. Mine was Polythene Pam. I was going through a Beatles phase at that point. So what happens to these old names and chat histories and call histories?
So Microsoft says they'll let you keep your chat and call history. It kind of leaves to be seen what they will actually look like or how you'll be able to access it and look at it. One of the complicated things about running platforms over the course of 20, 30 years in some instances is people end up with a million different deprecated usernames and numbers and whatever. I think that your Skype ID is probably going the way of the dodo, but I think, so unfortunately, the Beatles-inspired name may not be with you for much longer, but at the very least, they're promising that you'll have access to your call history and your messages, at least for the foreseeable future.